Today I'm reacting to your Friday Night SmackDown Hot Takes. Hot Takes is a weekly video series where I give you all a platform to be able to voice your thoughts, whether they're good thoughts, bad thoughts, or everything in between about the world of professional wrestling. So if you'd like to be featured in the next episode of Hot Takes, make sure that you follow me on X because I ask for your hot takes there after every episode of Raw, SmackDown, and every single WWE Premium Live event. And if you're looking for our review of this absolutely bizarre, weird episode of Friday Night SmackDown, it's already up and available on the Patreon, patreon.com/SantiZap. Over there, you're going to get so much more extra content like the SmackDown reviews, Raw reviews, and so much more that never gets uploaded here to YouTube. So go check it out, patreon.com/SantiZap, link in the description, link in the pinned comment. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I know that you're going to fall in love with this YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. All right, let's just jump into this just weird conversation that I know we're about to have. That might have been the worst promo of The Rock's entire career, definitely the most confusing. Okay, so I want to make one thing really abundantly clear before I fully dive into this. I understand what they're trying to do. I understand the overarching goal. I get that The Rock is trying to make Cody Rhodes into his corporate champion. I understand all of that, and I'm telling you that I understand all of this because I'm already starting to see loser marks online telling people that are saying that they didn't like this promo that, you just didn't understand it. You don't understand the nuances. This is like Star Wars. Just let the final boss take you on this ride. Bro, this sucked ass. Just because I understand the motivation and even can get behind the motivation doesn't change the fact that the execution of this was bizarre and not in a good way necessarily either. When you actually look at the bones and structure of the promo, it was The Rock repeating himself 30,000 different times in different ways, just saying the exact same thing. Cody, The Rock, and you are friends now. You know, we weren't friends before, but now we're friends. You know, you are The Rock's friend. You know, I want everybody to understand that you and I are friends. I want you to understand. And for me to understand that I understand that you understand. And I know that you know that we are friends and you're a champion. You're a great champion. You're a fantastic champion. You're everyone's champion. And you're also my friend. Our moms are friends. Like, bro, get to the point. I know I'm being really harsh here, but I think I should be harsh when we cut an entire women's match that I wanted to see for an extra 15 minutes of Dwayne The Rock Johnson just doing jargon language without getting to the goddamn point. We could have easily cut like 7-8 minutes from The Rock's rambling. I swear to God we could have. And we still could have landed on what we're trying to do here, which again, that I can get behind. I can get behind the overarching goal. I can get behind the finish line of where it is that WWE is trying to take us, but this was a bad execution of it. You also mentioned it's definitely the most confusing. It certainly was. It definitely leaves a lot to interpretation, and that's what they're going for. And I feel like that's the one redeeming quality of this promo, but we could have gotten the cryptic, confusing, apocalyptic feeling nature of this promo without all of the rambling from The Rock. I personally enjoyed the promo from the final boss, even though it was odd. What I didn't like was the press conference afterwards where Dwayne felt like they needed to break kayfabe and explain the angle. Hey, look, I will not roast people for liking this, all right? To each his own. One man's trash is another man's treasure, and that's perfectly fine. If you enjoyed it, that's cool. I think you and I are definitely in agreement with the press conference. That was equally weird. First of all, it was weird that it existed in the first place. I don't even understand why they made this press conference to begin with. But hey, I tuned in expecting for there to be something, and there really wasn't. If anything, The Rock kind of just shined a light on the boogeyman and didn't particularly help the entire situation. What I really didn't like was the fact that he was talking about how he and Cody can have these moments without ever necessarily culminating in a match, and I think that sucks. Look, I get that the authority figure never has to necessarily get into a match, but this authority figure is The Rock. This is also an authority figure that the night after WrestleMania basically called a shot for that WWE championship, which then set the pace for Cody Rhodes' championship reign to feel like many of the matches that were happening were filler until he ran into The Rock. And now we're finding out that the end goal isn't even a match. That sucks. It might be a match that we might be prematurely trying to judge that. I'm just using what The Rock told us, that he says it doesn't have to necessarily end in a match. Rock's awkward proposal to Cody is the means to his heel turn. This would be like The Rock when he joined the corporation. He will probably turn him down at Elimination Chamber, but turn heel at WrestleMania. Yeah, okay, so now let's actually talk about the substance of the promo promo, what they're trying to accomplish. And yes, they're setting up the groundwork to make us believe about the possibility of a Cody Rhodes heel turn. We're already seeing Cody Rhodes kind of waver, kind of teetering the line, going from one side to the other pretty freely. The weight of the crown starting to feel like it's incredibly heavy at this point in the year. And to have the most powerful man extend an olive branch and basically say, I can make your life so much better and so much easier if you just allow me to. That's a very believable storyline that I can get behind, and I think a lot of people can get behind as well. Now, will Cody Rhodes eventually turn heel, become corporate Cody? Maybe. Look, I don't see it ultimately, because this truly is the face of this generation of professional wrestling, and we know in recent memory WWE has had some troubles turning those faces into heels, but when they do, like the tribal chief, it can be a giant moneymaker. So maybe this can be one of those situations. That just begs the question, who is the opposite across Cody Rhodes? If Cody Rhodes becomes the big bad of the WWE, becomes the Rock's sword to take over all of WWE and all of professional wrestling, who stands across from Cody Rhodes? Is it Cena? Is it CM Punk? Is it Roman Reigns to then set up Roman versus The Rock? There are a lot of intriguing things here. That's why there is some stuff to like about the promo. The substance of the promo is interesting. It's neat. It's invigorating even to a point. Again, I'm just roasting the awful delivery of it. This was very weird to me. Does The Rock want Cody to go full Homelander? Does The Rock want Cody to sell his soul to the devil? The dark side of Cody Rhodes has been coming out recently. What's going on? We gotta just shut up and let The Rock take us on this wild ride. Look, I'm down for the ride, but the ride operator, he just needs to be better at getting us from point A to point B with his delivery. I want to just highlight one of the things that you said here, because everything else we've kind of already talked about, which is that Cody's dark side has been coming out, and it's true. We saw it basically completely manifest into a demon-like version of himself at the Royal Rumble, where he tried to murder Kevin Owens. So now it's kind of like the perfect moment. It's the Achilles heel of Cody Rhodes has been revealed, and what a better time for Emperor Palpatine, the Rock, the final boss, the man with all of the power, to finally come out of the shadows to try and take advantage of that Achilles heel. The timing is actually brilliant. Listen, if Cody doesn't want to give his soul, I know a certain superstar who is owed a quote favor from a part of the bloodline, someone who would definitely sell out to main event WrestleMania and win the world title. Yeah, okay, I like the sport that you're playing. I feel like we can play ball with this. Cody Rhodes turning down The Rock only for CM Punk to swoop in and take that offer sounds a heck of a whole lot what ended up happening with Seth Rollins, which would be so fucking poetic if CM Punk takes that exact same route and becomes the plan B for The Rock, much like Seth Rollins was the plan B for Triple H. That's kind of just kind of nuts to think about. There are other options that are equally intriguing, like what if The Rock's champion then becomes John Cena, and now all of a sudden we have a John Cena heel turn storyline where he aligns with one of his biggest rivals in his career, The Rock, to become corporate Cena and become the Rock's champion. That'd also be pretty sweet. So again, I reiterate, the destination, the substance is interesting. There's stuff to really gravitate to. A Karrion Kross segment with Cody would cook with his past manipulation of people while Cody is vulnerable. Could be a great way to have Cody question himself. I like this, actually. I think this is a great way to also just give another one up to Karrion Kross, who, in my opinion, has been doing some of the best job of his career in recent memory with the very little TV time that he's been getting. And this, to me, would be his magnum opus. If he could be part of the contribution towards giving us Homelander Cody, that would be pretty awesome. My brain turned to fudge after that segment with The Rock. It was really hard to enjoy the rest of the show. I agree with the last part that you said there. I kind of felt bad because then we had the tag match immediately afterwards between DIY and Pretty Deadly, and then we had the interference of the Street Profits and Motor City Machine Guns, which was clearly going to set up something big at WrestleMania for this tag team division that has absolutely earned our attention and has absolutely earned a spot at WrestleMania. Unfortunately, me and my entire stream, there were thousands of us across YouTube and Twitch. All we could keep talking about was that weird ass Rock segment, and it does unfortunately feel like that tag team match and a lot of the rest of the show just sort of fell through the cracks as we were just talking about how bizarre that Rock segment was. And look, I understand that buzz is kind of the economy of this world of professional wrestling. If you're talking about it, that's a good thing. But the thing is that many of us were not talking about it in like the light that they probably wanted us to talk about it in. Bro, come on. Oh, what the? Yeah, come on, Santino. That was a sneak peek of this week's Wrestling is Cool Match Club, available exclusively on patreon.com/SantiZap. This week, we're looking at Rusev versus John Cena at WrestleMania 31, where he comes out in a freaking tank. CM Punk versus Ricky Starks on an episode of AEW Collision in 2023. The NXT Black and Gold Classic between Aleister Black and Andrade at NXT TakeOver New Orleans. Motor City Machine Guns versus Kevin Steen and El Generico on Ring of Honor. And the 2012 Elimination Chamber match, the one that Santino almost freaking won. You'll be getting this and more, like the Raw reviews, SmackDown reviews, the Wrestling is Cool podcast 3 days earlier than everywhere else, the currently ongoing Undertaker WrestleMania match watch along, the currently ongoing Royal Rumble match watch along, and so much more content that never appears here on YouTube because it would just get blocked here on YouTube. So go check it out, patreon.com/SantiZap. The link will be in the description or in the pinned comment. I'm confident that if you even give it just one shot, 1 month, that you're going to fall in love with it. There is so much content, hundreds of hours of content already available for you, so go check it out. If you're already a patron, thank you so much for your support. Now let's get you back into the video. All I can say is, what the hell was that? Yeah, I wanted to include this because I feel like this this is a pretty common thought that I received in this episode of Hot Takes. A lot of people are feeling this way. It's pretty clear to me that we're gonna have Street Profits versus DIY versus Pretty Deadly versus Motor City Machine Guns versus Los Garza's tag team ladder match for the SmackDown tag team titles at WrestleMania, with Pretty Deadly winning and doing Pretty Deadly the musical on the Raw after WrestleMania, of course. Yes, boy, I agree with you. I do believe that this is where things are going to go. And as I already mentioned, the SmackDown tag team division has absolutely earned this spot at WrestleMania. And unlike last year's ladder match, where it just sort of felt like, hey, we just need to shoehorn a bunch of tag teams together so that we can have a big tag team ladder match, this will feel earned. This will feel like a culmination of a storyline that should rightfully be ending at WrestleMania, because every tag team, right down to freaking Los Garzas, is getting honestly really great storytelling, great matches, great motivations, great everything. The entire tag team division on Friday Night SmackDown has been absolutely cooking. But please give me Pretty Deadly the musical at some point. Do not make this one of the drop storyline plots that WWE has been randomly dropping, like the Austin Theory babyface term, like the addendum in the contract for the ladder match. Give me Pretty Deadly the musical at some point. I've been holding out for this. The final boss and Cody in a similar segment to Edge and Lita needs to happen at this point. Jesus Christ. Okay, look, I get it. There was a lot of sexual tension, all right? But we don't need a live "he just became my champion" celebration in front of all of us. I know you already made a quote, "what will ruin WrestleMania" video, but that promo with The Rock and Cody just ruined the road to WrestleMania for me. I'll see y'all April 21st when The Rock wins the custody of Cody's Souls ladder match. Okay. All right, that's funny. You got me there. This hasn't ruined WrestleMania for me. It definitely did make it better, and it also didn't make Elimination Chamber more hype, in my opinion. As somebody that's very likely going to be going to the show, I thought that, maybe The Rock appearing was going to be this monumental thing that I can't miss. Now it just sort of feels like I feel like I could just get an email from whatever The Rock is about to ramble on at Elimination Chamber. It's kind of crazy that The Rock has gone from somebody that is considered kind of like the holy trinity of in-ring mic workers alongside Cena and CM Punk, and over the last couple of months alone, he has just dropped some of the most dumb, unnecessarily long-winded promos that we've heard in recent memory. I guess that's kind of what happens when you have just no checks and balances, right? Like, he could just be out there as long as he wants, and who's going to tell him otherwise? Drew McIntyre is getting, for lack of a better word, cocked. He went from Bloodline bounty hunter to jobber to losing right before Chamber. Triple H has failed him. I see that you included the tweet from Drew McIntyre that says there is no escaping the Bloodline vortex, and I'm wondering who he's referring to. Is he referring to Cody Rhodes not being able to escape the Bloodline vortex, or is it Drew McIntyre's spotlight getting pushed aside for the Bloodline vortex like it did going into Bad Blood 2024? Look, I get what they're doing with Drew McIntyre. They're doing the Drew McIntyre's biggest opponent is himself. He is his biggest enemy. He is the one that's causing all of these matches to end in a roll-up with him losing because he's losing concentration and he's taunting them. And then out of nowhere, when he isn't expecting it, they roll him up and he loses. I get it. He's his biggest enemy. But I agree with you. It sucks to see Drew McIntyre go from where he was in 2024 before, as a WWE's arguably most valuable asset that they had at the time, to a guy that's just getting rolled up by everyone in the bloodline. I was somebody that was speculating that we were going to get this bloodline bounty hunter Drew McIntyre, I should say, that was taking out every member of the bloodline, and then his final test was going to be none other than Roman freaking Reigns at WrestleMania to give us a sequel to that match at Clash at the Castle. Look, they fumbled this. I don't know what they can do with Drew McIntyre at this point going into WrestleMania. Drew McIntyre is too damn good to be getting wasted away in the way that I feel like he's getting wasted away. If Cody sells his soul, where will he keep his adrenaline? Oh, man. Sometimes, man, I love the internet. What are they doing with Drew, man? And why do Samoans keep rolling him up? I know a lot of us are feeling this way. I think now we just sort of need to ask the question, what are we going to do with Drew going into WrestleMania? Because right now, his stock, at the very least, just feels like the lowest it's been since the beginning of last year, where he started raising his stock going into the WrestleMania 40 match against Seth Rollins. And just right now, it just feels like he's missing a lot of what the kids would say, aura. Look, I literally wouldn't be surprised if the plan is just to do Drew McIntyre versus Damian Priest, the original match that was rumored that everyone hated, and then we apparently got word that WWE was rethinking that. I still think that that's where they're gonna go. There's just not much left for Drew McIntyre at the moment, sadly. The Rock was missing his fastball tonight. He rambled, he talked in circles, and it wasn't an efficient use of time. This has me worried about the Cody versus Rock storyline moving forward. I hope today was a one-off night, but he needs to be top shelf for this complicated storyline. I completely agree with you here, Cosmic Raccoon. Great username, by the way. I do believe that we need a tighter version of The Rock's promos. Not necessarily that they need to be shorter, just less long-winded. Look, I may have exaggerated earlier on in this video with how many times he called Cody Rhodes his friend, but I don't think I was over-exaggerating. It really was a bunch of times where The Rock just kept circling back to the same thing. It almost felt like what you would do if you forgot your lines in a school play. It felt like The Rock really was off that night. And I can forgive the NXT promo that basically did the same thing, because it was very clear that The Rock's NXT appearance wasn't to set up anything. It was just to, hey, get a little ratings boost. The Rock showed up on NXT, create some headlines. He was just there to have a good time. But with this, he's creating something. He's leading towards an end game of some sort that will likely involve WrestleMania. And there's, in my opinion, there's just no room for the long-winded rambling of The Rock when we're trying to build up to something like this. And you mentioned the efficiency of time. Cutting Liv Morgan versus Naomi, like, why? We didn't need to do that. We could have just had a 7-minute Naomi versus Liv Morgan match and it would have been perfectly fine. And this is just bad optics as well, when right now the narrative is that WWE has been doing a really piss poor job in booking the women's division going into WrestleMania. This was a bad look. WWE took weed off the wellness policy, and then Dwayne showed us exactly why it was there to begin with. Fellas, I cannot with you guys. You guys are just on another one tonight. Some of these tweets are just absolutely killing me. Well played. Well done. At this point, I would prefer Seth versus Roman at WrestleMania 41 over The Rock versus Roman. I agree with the exact wording that you said at this point. I still want The Rock versus Roman Reigns at some point. If that is the match that you can do, that is the match that you should do. But at this point, this close to WrestleMania, if they were to all of a sudden pull the plug on what they're doing between Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, I'd be pissed, because they've got something really, really good and special set up for that to be maybe a night one closer at WrestleMania without even having any sort of accolades or titles on the line. The Rock jumping in here last minute, it would feel shoehorned, unfortunately. So for Mania 42, maybe, we'll see. No matter how interesting that segment was, I will 10,000% take Cody and Rock promo over another Cody and Solo feud. Man, poor Solo Sikoa. The guy is now clearly second fiddle. Not only is he getting clearly removed from this feud with Cody Rhodes, which, by the way, I'm happy about running Cody Rhodes versus Solo Sikoa at Elimination Chamber was not something that was going to put butts in seats. It was an uninteresting thought, and it appealed to probably absolutely nobody. But now Solo's taking pins. They don't even come out to his entrance theme. This dude is a third wheel. I know that the plan is probably Solo versus Jacob at WrestleMania, but right now, man, Solo's down in the dumps. It does feel like they've completely completely canceled Cody versus Solo Sikoa or wherever it is that they were going to do with them in whatever match they were planning on doing. It seems like that's completely off the books now. R-Truth was the best part of the show. I can't believe I'm saying that on a 3-hour show with Rock and Cody, that the best part of was a tag match with R-Truth. I mean, that should surprise you. R-Truth is amazing. R-Truth is a national treasure. Everything that R-Truth does is freaking comedic gold. And he was like on another one on this night, thinking that LA Knight was from Louisiana and that LA stood for Louisiana Knight is just so goddamn funny. His in-ring tactics with him tagging the Miz because he forgot they're no longer a tag team. Of course, the mimicking of John Cena. I thought that everything with R-Truth that night and that tag match was really entertaining. This is my division and I'm in charge. This vignette freaking cooked. And they're just trying to save the women's division from this woman, and they keep keeping her away from the mic against other women because WWE knows that she is just leagues above every other female on the SmackDown roster on the microphone, with the exception of maybe Zelina Vega. Like, this woman would absolutely torch anybody on the mic right now. But hey, at least we're getting some development with her. We're starting to learn more about the complex dynamics of her character, that she seems to be kind of wild and bouncing all over the place, going from one persona to the other, going from one emotion to the other. I'm sold, all right? Butt is in seat for what we're going to be doing with Alexa Bliss. The amount of hate The Miz keeps getting is wild to me. The guy is a future Hall of Famer, and him teaming up with Melo is a good thing for both of them. It gets The Miz in a good storyline while the Wyatts are on the back burner with the injury, and it gets Melo into something interesting. Look, so long as the end goal with Melo is still singles glory, then I'm fine with this. I'm fine with this being a fun little pit stop for Carmelo Hayes and The Miz, plus the tag team name rules, like Melo don't Miz. Come on, that's awesome. I didn't mean to say that's awesome there at the end. That just, I guess, sort of came out, I guess, Pavlovian laws, I guess. Anyways, yeah, hating on The Miz right now in 2025 is pointless. Like, the dude has already made it. He's done everything that he needs to do in his career, and now he's just having fun storylines. And yeah, sure, I think I understand the frustration of Carmelo Hayes fans at the moment that he's getting saddled with The Miz and feuding with R-Truth and lower tier people that when they think that Carmelo Hayes should be going after world titles or mid-card titles. But those divisions are just so jam-packed right now that they would just be using Carmelo Hayes as fodder to make them look good, which is exactly what they were doing. At least here, Carmelo Hayes is the lead actor. At least here, Carmelo Hayes is winning matches and developing himself. The slow rise of Jimmy Uso has been very enjoyable to me. The way that he works the crowd, his aura, his promos have just been super awesome lately. Very proud of him. Yeah, so something I've mentioned before, and I'll mention it here again, is that out of everyone in the mid-card on SmackDown, the one that's kind of taking like the biggest leaps forward to make himself into, you know, as close to a main event guy as possible is right now, in my opinion, Jimmy Uso. His promos are on point. His matches have been entertaining. Like you mentioned, his crowd work is great. And I really, I sympathize with his situation as well, with his brother already achieving major main event glory over on Monday Night Raw. I do think it's going to culminate in something special, and I think that something special will likely be winning the United States Championship, most likely at WrestleMania. Zelina Vega should be the one to dethrone Chelsea Green for the US title. Michin was originally my pick, but they've had her face Chelsea Green too many times, and having Michin win now would be boring. Zelina is also long overdue for a singles title. Many of you already know that I love Zelina Vega. I think that she's fantastic. I think that this is a great idea. I feel like Zelina Vega would be the perfect second champion after Chelsea Green to carry that United States Championship and give it more prestige and more relevancy. I'm not saying that Chelsea Green isn't already doing that, but Chelsea Green is facing a major uphill battle by being the very first one. And passing the baton off to somebody as good as Zelina Vega, I think is a great next move. I love Michin as well, but I also agree with you. I feel like they've maybe overexposed Michin too much in this feud where honestly they didn't need to. They had other women that they could have rotated to bring Michin back later, but they didn't fill the division with any more women. They just allowed it to only be Michin and Chelsea Green, which has kind of not necessarily soured me on Michin at all, but it soured me on the idea of just continuing to see Chelsea versus Michin. I want to see something new, and that something new sure as shit can be Zelina Vega. I won't complain about that. Tiffy seemed a little bit nervous tonight, but that's understandable. Being the champ must feel like a lot of pressure, especially on such a young talent. I hope that she gets a chance to improve instead of dropping the title to a more, quote, confident Charlotte Flair. Yeah, this doesn't feel like the most confident version of Tiffany Stratton. It does feel like she's kind of losing a little bit of that confidence. I don't know if it's nerves. I don't know if it's the character that she's playing, because she's going up against the biggest challenge that any woman in her position competition could possibly face off against, which is the monster that is Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania. It might be on purpose that she doesn't feel as confident, considering that Charlotte Flair's entire character in this feud is that she is so confident going into WrestleMania that she barely sees Tiffany Stratton as any sort of competition. Which, by the way, I like that this is the character that they're going with Charlotte Flair, because they could have easily been doing a character where she attacks Tiffany Stratton from behind, takes advantage of these situations, but she's not. It's just a Charlotte Flair that literally looks down on Tiffany Stratton and basically sees her as a giant piece of shit that she unfortunately has to step over in order to get the championship at WrestleMania. And that's working for me. The really confident Charlotte Flair weirdly is working for me, and I feel like it works really well opposite a less confident Tiffany Stratton. Charlotte is going to get to WrestleMania without having a single match during the week. My cage is rattled just looking at her. I'm annoyed by everything Charlotte Flair. Yeah, I mean, I wanted to include this because, yeah, I mean, a lot of people feel this way. I'm not one of those, but I want to shine a light on other opinions as well. But I do think that she's going to get to WrestleMania without a match, and I think the purpose of it is to rattle your cage in the cage of others. It might be to protect her knee going into WrestleMania. That might actually be the main reason, but it does make her feel more entitled and more pompous if she doesn't get into the ring at all going into WrestleMania, which entitled and pompous is what a lot of people feel about Charlotte Flair to begin with. All right, folks, thank you so much for watching this episode of Hot Takes. Give me your soul. All right, bye. Get out of here.